Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. The most common comment or question I get through my social media platforms are parents confiding in me that they'd wish to step away some from workbooks and provide more hands-on learning for their children, but they don't know how. Or asking me how I create hands-on activities for my own children. So I thought that in today's video, I would show you and walk you through the process of planning our first unit study for the new school year, which is on ponds, and creating shelf work hands-on activities to go with that unit. In last week's video, I shared with you the garden themed shelf work activities. And if you didn't see that video, I will link it down below. So the first step is clearing all of these activities off of our shelf and making space for the new resources. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of how I store all of these resources and printables. First, music. For storing our activities, I also like to use gallon-sized Ziploc or storage bags, a Sharpie, and a bin. This canvas bin is just the system I use to carry everything to my long-term storage. So for storing my activities, I do use a big plastic clear bin, one for each season of the year, and I keep that in a spare closet in our office room upstairs. You saw what that storage system looks like if you did watch my toy rotation video. So for now, I will just place them in this canvas bin until I take it upstairs and then store it in its respective bin, which is for spring. Okay, so once I've cleared off the shelf and I've organized and stored everything that needs to go in a long-term storage bin, then I like to sift through and put back in its spot all of the materials that normally live out in our schoolroom. So for example, sticker, activity books, and coloring books go back in the coloring book bin, art supplies back in the art supplies closet, animal figures go back with the toys, and loose parts go back into our loose parts tray. So this is when it gets a little bit difficult, and that is deciding which of our art projects we will hold on to. So I like to display what we are keeping out a little bit longer on our windowsill in the schoolroom, and then finally moving them into our art closet for further display, storage, or eventually just tossing out. I will also take this time to sift through our worksheets or work within this unit and decide what we will be keeping and storing for our homeschool portfolio. And what isn't set aside for the homeschool portfolio will get displayed in our art closet. And finally, recruit a child to clean the shelf for a nice clean canvas for the new shelf activities. More often than not, I will DIY a lot of our games and hands-on activities before needing to go out and purchase any, and I like to use whatever art supplies or recycled materials we have at home. This is also when I recruit my older children to step in and help. My teenage daughter made these alligators for a greater or less than math tray. I had to Mod Podge eggs on a wooden disc for our frog life cycle because the set we have did not include the egg. And then the most tedious work for me when creating hands-on activities or shelf work is laminating and cutting some more. I really have cut back a lot on laminating since my beginner homeschool days because I used to laminate everything. So between the DIY projects and prepping printables, also depending on how many shelf activities I am preparing, which is usually between 8 to 10 shelf activities, prep work for me is about 2 to 3 nights worth of work. Once all of the prep work is done, I'm ready to spread everything out on a table. The books we've gathered from the library, books we own, of course my unit study planner, all of the prepped printables which are ready to go in this envelope, all of the DIYs that we have created, and of course coffee. I've also brought out our animal figures, which we will need for some activities. This is our bin of all of the resources I've acquired through a lot of time for this unit. And then I've also pulled out some trays which we will need to organize our activities. Okay, so this is my life planner. It's actually not a fancy planner, it's a traveler's journal, and with it I like to use bullet grid notebook inserts. And so I have an insert for, I guess we can say, each category of my life. So a personal one for devotionals and my things, one for our home, so our calendar, my husband's schedule, cleaning schedules, and then of course I have one for homeschool. So that is where I log our homeschool days and where I also plan for our unit studies. My layouts are very simple and very beginner. It doesn't take me more than 5 minutes to create a layout. So for our unit study, I usually just have the title, and then I also like to jot down the date when I would like to begin the unit study and leave blank the date for ending, just so that there is no pressure and we have room to take our time. I always begin my planning with resources that we already have. And then I also have a box for resources we need or we would want. Then there is our book list, and this is mostly for library books, ideas that I have for the unit study, and videos and links that we want to watch or visit throughout this unit as well. I like to keep track of all the freebie printables I find, and that is so that I can share them with you. And then I also write down for the printables that I've paid for, projects and recipes, and then I have a to-do list that I cross off as I prep for our unit. And my final spread for unit study planning is mapping out all of my shelf work hands-on activities. So I have a box for each activity, and I like to write down everything that I will need to prepare that activity or tray. So I'm going to take you through the process of preparing a tray, and we're going to begin with a math turtle themed activity. Okay, so to prepare this activity, I'm going to need the turtle that you saw me make with bottle caps. I'm also going to need a right-sized tray, big enough to hold all of the materials we need for this activity. And by the way, it is out of frame, but this whole time I do have my planner next to me so that I can check off the materials I need for each activity. Next on my list for preparing this tray is a bowl to hold our manipulatives, which will be blue pom-poms to continue with the pond theme. I've also written down that I need a fine motor tool, and I chose chopsticks. And finally, dice, and I went with a bigger sized one because it is easier for my preschooler to count the bigger sized dots. And there you have it. That is our first prepared activity. Next, I'm preparing the anatomy or parts of a frog activity using 3-part cards, which are a freebie printable, and a wooden frog puzzle from Amazon. Again, organizing all of the materials onto a tray, and we'll be using the frog puzzle pieces paired with the 3-part cards as an object to picture match activity. Here's another example without a printable. I'm using a Frog and Turtles tube set from Safari Ltd for a turtle and frog sorting activity for my toddler. Here's a tip. I often use dry erase sleeves, and you can find them at Dollar Tree throughout the year, and Target Dollar Spot also has them for their back to school season. And I like to use these to avoid laminating. It makes for an easy prep and a simple activity. So I'll show you how I prepare one more activity, and this one is using another freebie printable. So all I need for this is a tray, the printable, and a small bowl to hold any smaller pieces. And before I know it, I have created and prepared 8 hands-on activities for my children ranging in ages from 2 to 6. So the last piece and my favorite part for creating shelf work activities for my children is the top shelf. This becomes a blank canvas for displaying all of those beautiful unit themed books, for creating playscapes, for displaying your art projects or nature finds throughout the unit. Now, if you want to see what our complete shelf looks like for our pond unit, you will have to stay tuned for our pond unit shelf work video, where I will share the rest of the activities that you did not get to see today, and of course any other projects and or ideas that we have for this unit. Alright, my sweet friends, I truly hope this video is helpful to you and serves you in one way or another. Mostly that it has inspired you to create hands-on activities and implanting a love of learning through play for your child. If you did enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. I'd also love to read your comments in the comment section. And as always, thank you for your love. Okay,
a snail! A snail!
A snail, that's right.